Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. I guess it's time to get started. Welcome to Queer Games Heck Yeah, where I play through a bunch of queer games, taking screenshots for the Queer Games Festival. I'm Luke Miller, I'm a game dev. Yeah, I don't want to give the big spiel today. I'm going to try not to. But then I'm going to spend as much time saying I'm not going to give the spiel as I would have spent giving the spiel. So really, what gain has there been? Yeah, basically, queer games, that's why we're here, helping out with the Queer Games Festival. We need screenshots, so we have to play them anyway. So I thought, why not do it on stream, get some practice, create some space for these games. Exciting. I come into them cold, so if you're watching this and you're not in the mood for unexpected content, dark, rude, light, serious, heavy, all of that, then look away. But on that, let's get started. Today's game is a game called Captive. It's available on itch. The web address is there and it'll be in the link if you're watching this on YouTube. It should be in a little bit underneath. I don't know much about it other than it's got some really good looking guys. Let's start. How is everyone today? I hope you're having a good day. It's quite soggy here, but better than bushfires. A story about freedom. Great typeface choice. Trigger warning. Oh. Is the trigger warning that everything fades in really slowly? This video game addresses strong themes that may trigger and not recommended for some people. These themes include strong language, violence, manipulation, sexual abuse, sexual explicit content, and slavery. Okay, wow. It's called Captive. The video game is intended to treat these sensitive topics as respectfully as possible. Always take care of your mental health. When you think these issues may harm it, we do not recommend playing. This video game is restricted to minors. Oh. Only minors can play it? I should make fun of it, I suppose. I kind of feel if you're downloading a game off itch, you've just got to really roll with whatever is going to happen. Because it's not Disney. Disclaimer to the player. God, there's a whole essay. Okay, this is a game that takes consideration of your previous choices, how you perform on the problems that you face. We'll have a say on how good you will come with dealing with the next situation. Some parts that you take could bring the narrative towards depiction of drugs and non-consensual sex. We want to make sure that you're 100% comfortable in playing the game. We want to know if you'd like to skip that part of the narration in case the choices you make bring you to the story. We choose to skip this part of the story. Okay. We will skip it because we're on stream. I'm not okay with it. I want to skip that part. It's nice of them to give us a choice. I think this is a modern feature of game dev, is you have to keep streamers in mind. So even if you're doing a bit of a hardcore game, you kind of have to have a clean mode, I guess. We'll see. Okay, I've been doing a lot of work lately getting my game working with a controller, and the very first thing I see when I see this screen is I just see the outline of an Xbox controller. It happened suddenly one night. I was in my tent. Being ours, a clan of elves, we knew we were at risk, but none of us could have predicted what came up on us. Oh, another slow texting again. A hunt. Aye. I heard a scream, followed by many more. I moved aside the flaps of the tent to see what's happening outside. This font is it's a lovely font, but it's not as clean to read as the others. Sorry, this typeface is not as clean to read as a simpler typeface. The elves are screaming all over and trying to run away. The flames of the torches around me were restless, as if they felt the same fear. Good art. Great art. I love that border. Soon the reason for such horror spilled into my view. Dark elves. Evil. Speaking as a human, I sometimes think elves are way more trouble than they're worth. Don't you think? Because it's they're just meant to be this kind of noble race that's all about art and growing silver trees and riding horses really fast. But there's always something with the elves, isn't it? It's the tree's rotting from the roots up. Oh, we've accidentally created dark elves. Oh, we've destroyed all light in the universe. God. Evil elves descending from the darkness who love to bask in the blood of the nemesis. That is, anyone with the blood of an elf. Oh. And I, a half-elf, was no exception. There were a bunch of them, but they were all armed and prepared, and they caught us by surprise. We, on the other hand, didn't have any weapons ready. An elf stumbled on the ground in front of me. I knew her. One of those darklings was chasing her, overtook her in a flash of shadow. He sunk the blade of his sword inside her chest in one swift arc, grinning. I was so scared that my body wouldn't answer me. I freezed. The darkling raised his eyes to me. His grin softened, and his eyes started glowing in a disturbing way. I thought I was lost when suddenly a loud noise from the other side of the camp caught the attention of the darkling. I couldn't do anything other than look. Rarg! The scream was caused by another darkling further inside the camp, and from that distance he looked pretty different from the others. Oh. I will say whoever's done the art of this game has knocked it out of the park. I mean, just based on the colour palette. This is like a sensational looking game. He appeared to be nearly 1.5 men bigger and taller than the rest of the Dark Elves, and he was waving his axe with such power that he could kill one of my kind with just one blow. He was too fast, like other Darklings, but with no doubt he was also more deadly. I believe this might be the love interest of the game. Grrr. That one Darkling took the attention of the whole clan. While the smaller Dark Elves went around destroying tents, my clan's best fighters were there, around the bigger Darkling, distracting him and trying to hit him as best they could. They started throwing ropes over him. He severed the first ones with his axe, but others secured his waist and his neck. Soon he was brought to his knees in the center of the camp, trapped, but that didn't stop him from putting up a fight. Dar! While the rest of the clan's fighters rallied and turned the tide on the invading Darklings. These are good elves. They fought off the Dark Elves. The strongest warriors were still holding onto the ropes that kept the Dark Elf at bay. One of the men leaned in to readjust his grip on a rope, and that was just enough for the Darkling to sink his teeth deep into the flesh of his arm. He's a biter. With a scream, the elf stumbled backward and slashed his sword at the Darkling's thigh, leaving a deep gash. The Darkling screamed louder, and while his thigh was bleeding, he kept straining against his binds. One of the elves ran behind his back and slammed the hilt of his sword down hard onto the Dark Elf's head, so he collapsed. Destruction was everywhere. The village was half destroyed. Some of us were killed. That's an odd phrase. Some of us were killed, and all we could get was that one dangerous Darkling. I mean, some of you survived. That's pretty good. There's that Xbox silhouette again. Indie dev triggered. The game did warn me I would be triggered. Which brings me here. The gamepad's over there. Medibay. You sure brought some trouble, huh? Yes, okay, this Darkling, he killed a lot of us. He's still covered in blood. How did he manage to kill so many? This is not a man, this is a weapon. I study him as he's sleeping. He still looks a lot angry, even when he fainted. That must be a skill. He has a resting, angry face. I look at him closely. He's a very good-looking man. Dark elves are evil creatures who linger in the dark. Most of them live in the abyss. Oh, gosh. I think I lived in that apartment block too, when I first moved out of home. That's what we call the labyrinth of tunnels running beneath the ground where these Darklings have built their empires and cities. We know they thrive under the surface, and they never come out when it's light. That's because they've developed the ability to see through the darkness, and in exchange for that, their eyes became too sensitive for the light of sun. They descend from the same forefathers of surface elves, but they decided to take another path. This brought them to become more and more different from them. I'm always on the side of the underground dwellers. Like, you know, reading The Time Traveller, I was always more of a Morlock than an Eloy. And so instantly, my instant inclination is to go, well, the Dark Elves are clearly just living underground, building cities, like deuces, and the people above ground have, like, prejudiced against them. You know. But anyway, I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm sure the land dwellers are nice people too. And because they thought themselves better, they quickly grew in pride and greed, so much that they decided to seclude themselves completely in darkness to rise only for hurting their own brothers. Yeah, we're only hearing one side of the story here. This one is a dark elf for sure. If there's ever been any doubt, his skin is dark. Not too much evidently darker than mine or an elf's, with some violet and blue undertones here and there. I tend his wounds. Yes, I mean, you know, I hope we haven't stumbled into some sort of, you know, I mean, I don't play much fantasy games. I'm more of a sci-fi person. One thing I do notice a lot about a lot of sci-fi is that the bad guys, they're almost like always, you know, a bit dark-skinned. It's a bit dodgy, fantasy. I just hope that's not what's happening here. He has long, straight hair with a couple small braids that wrap behind the nape of his neck and hold the rest of his hair in place. Usually dark elves aren't this tall, neither this big, while this one is muscular, huge, a pretty big one. Yeah, it's true. I glance around for my tools. Good that someone wanted you alive. We could have been better without you, you know. We could have been better without you, you know. I talked him out of boredom, but I know he's totally asleep. He could never escape the 12 hours of sleep from my somniferous medicine. I really wanted you killed. Like, why do people always make the same mistake? Let's keep him alive so he'll tell us where the others live. Oh, that's such a mistake, don't you think? Yes. After rummaging around my medicine tray, I finally find the proper tools. Last night, you're going to extract his teeth and wear them in a necklace. That's a bit strange. Last night, after having him tied to the bed and given him medicine, I took care of his major wounds. Ironically, he could still kill a bunch of us, but I have to cure him now. Of course, never think that elves could even do those kind of things on their own. No, they want me. I'm expendable. Oh, the half-elf, yeah. I let out a half of exasperation, then turned to the darkling, and I suddenly feel all my body paralyzing. Uh-oh. My eyes rest on two raging small rubies embedded in that anthracite face. I love that word. I have no idea what it means, so I'm going to Google it. Anthracite. I'm also meant to be taking screenshots. Let's not forget. Coal. I mean... I do believe maybe it's an Italian game, so maybe there's a slight, you know, translation thing here. He's looking at me, and he's furious. He's not talking or doing anything. Oh, I can't skip the text. He's just trying to kill me with his stare. Oh, well. I feel my body slowly relaxing. It had responded instinctively when his darkening eyes caught mine, but there's nothing to fear at all. I breathe, releasing the stress of the moment. I realized that the darkling's body too has started moving. His inhales and exhales, lifting his bare chest and torso. He's definitely awake. How did you wake up? My voice is upset as I hold his gaze, following his slight irritation. I gave you the strongest... Some of these words are not designed to be read out loud. I gave you the strongest somniferum I had. I mean, I know som means like to sleep, and I guess ferum means like serum, so like sleeping serum I had. Somniferous. I can say somniferous fine. Somniferum. You're supposed to be knocked out cold. Don't make me waste my time, alright? There, he growls and his body twitches for the first time. My body feels weak and fragile, just from a simple movement. Maybe seeing him savagely kill a bunch of people I knew had its toll on me. Ooh, I garbled that. I snort, giving him a contempt gaze. This beast doesn't deserve my fear. I'm not working for myself, alright? I'm cleaning your wounds, for which you should be grateful. Let's do this fast. The sooner I finish, the sooner I can get away from this prick. Oh. I mean, he did kill your friends, or family. I mean, you haven't actually said that you liked the people you were living with. I'm just putting that out there. I lean in to check his abdomen for signs of infection. The body of this darkling is carefully shaped muscles. No part of his body has been neglected, as if he's had a perfect training routine all his life. Darklings are very harsh when it comes to expectations, especially among the men, but this one should really be one of the best trained, at least seeing from his body. Okay, I'm getting a sense of this game now. It's very body focused. which is, I'm not complaining. This is the first one on Queer Games Heck Yeah, which has been a little bit like, what do you call it? A bit more in the sexy side of the spectrum than the queer politics, queer aesthetic side. So we'll see how we go. His abdomen slowly lowers together with his breath and then lifts up again, with the muscles languidly following the lines of his body while they relax. I might not read out all of it. We'll see. I'm getting the vapors. I try to concentrate on the bandages. I use my fingers around the cloths and lift them away to clean and recover the wounds. Nort atsa unsa. Oh great, I'm already struggling with the English. Now I've got to read Elfish, Dark Elfish. The voice that emerges from that throat is hoarse and deep, as I thought it would be, though it brings with it a badly restrained growl, a slow sound of disgust and rage all together. I lit up my face to catch his gaze again, and I smile, trying to give him the prickest smile ever. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak gibberish. Ooh. So this is my theory. Keep in mind, my theory is that the Dark Elves are just living underground, peacefully. They've built a glorious civilization. They've got libraries. They've got little sailing ships on their underground moon lakes. And the above ground dwellers are waging some kind of war against them. And now disparaging even their language. I raise my eyebrows in false wonder. What? You can't talk in common? Well, that's your own damn problem. I don't care. I shrug, even though now the ruby eyes are flashing violently at me, as if this darkling means to kill me with his bare hands. Even though I know that he's well tied to the bed, I feel shivers down my spine. I try to shrug it away again, and go back to what I was doing. I keep on removing the dirty bandages. The darkling and his kin sure did some damage, but he got wounded too. Some of the elves managed to cut him on the waist and stomach area. Nothing really too worrying, but I had to stop the bleeding, and right now he needs stitches. Oh, I forgot the needles. Stay here. The dark elf glares at me with contempt and then turns his head. There's a lot of glaring and contempt. And starts muttering, I think. Nindol tonak velos dion atsa un. I wonder how accurate this is. I mean, is this, if I looked up like Tolkien, the Tolkien dictionary on Elvish, would this actually translate? I'm going to take a screenshot. Alright, cool. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. I say as I walk to the other side of the tent and open the medicine closet. Kjol Maglas Taga, Idol, is he casting some sort of spell? Is he about to teleport out? Idol Luti Harventh Saf Nathra Laugh. He replies, still muttering, sure, not giving a damn here. I find the needle box, and after closing the closet, I return to the sick bed where he lays. After going back on the chair, I turn my back to the barrel I use as a table, where I put my needle box. As soon as my hand touches the barrel, I lean over it to focus, and the touch of something cold and thin caresses my throat and lets a deep shiver take hold of my body. Oh. I swallow, and the blade subtly presses against my Adam's apple. This time it is not just a feeling. This is a real fucking blade. Oh, swearing. Oh well. It's Queer Games Heck Yeah, We don't allow swearing on our channel. But how did he be still? Have you just seen this guy kill half your village, and then you just tie him with a bunch of ropes to a bed? I don't think it was ever going to work. Be still, this blade must be very sharp. I shift my eyes downward and notice the barrel has something missing, the lightweight knife I used to cauterize his wounds at the crack of dawn. I think maybe this is... A lot of visual novels need an editor, I think. But I know what you mean. I left it there. It had to be cleaned, but I was so tired I couldn't do much more, and now it was here under my throat. Good. I feel him move quietly behind me, There's a sound of sheets sliding to the ground, and now I can hear him breathing, his breathing near me. It's slow-paced. Now, his voice is still low and calm, despite pointing a blade at me. I want you to bring me away from here. Bring me outside the village. If you make any sound, you know how things are going to go. He presses the blade on my throat. I raise my chin instinctively and balance my hands on the barrel to stand up and take a step back. Then my back presses against his chest. He's stuck to me. He takes the chance to place his left hand on my hip. I can feel his breath caressing my neck on that same side. It's a bit of a bodice ripper, isn't it? Try to fight, deal with it. I always think when I'm playing a game on stream that I want to play like the most evil, callous, selfish way I can. Because I think bad decisions make good drama. Let's try to fight. I know he's behind me, he's pointing the knife at my throat, but what if I manage to escape? My movement is quick. I turn my arm, because you're half elf. I turn my arm back in a twist of the torso to add more strength to the blow, and I try to hit him with my elbow, pointing towards his sternum. My elbow hit something, but it's not the darkling's sternum. I feel instead what probably is his hand shifting from my elbow to the forearm and twist until I feel pain. Okay, it didn't work. My back bends in tension, trying to alleviate that twist, while I moan from the pain, panting. The dark elf keeps my forearm firm against my back in that painful tension and whispers husky and annoyed in my ear. I guess you still don't get it, half-breed. And then he sighs. I know you think I would do it anyway, but I won't kill you. That's not going to be helpful for me, and not unless you don't behave. I grind my teeth, angry at what he just said. Behave? What do you think I am? I spit that out of my mouth with contempt. I die before I... That same blade presses again, trapping my voice in the middle of my throat and silencing me. I can do it now if you want. He whispers in my left ear. I gulp and clench my jaw. I hate this. But I lower my head and with reluctance turn towards the exit. As I move, the darkling brings us closer together, urging me to take a step forward by leaning his tone bulk over me like a weight. He even loses the grip of the blade on his throat. This game, I think, excels at creating a sense of the two bodies. Like, it's really good. It's like world building or spatial awareness, I guess, is what is really quite impressive. Like, you really feel that blade kind of, against your throat. It's an interesting technique. I'm quite a fan. As I move, the darkling brings us closer together, urging me to take a step forward by leaning his tone bulk over me. Oh, I heard that already. Yes. Okay. The darkling elf stops me before we reach the exit. From my side, I catch him snatching up a bunch of ropes. See, yes, this is my one thing I guess I would go about... why I think fantasy is a really hard genre to write is because sometimes we have these modern turns of phrase or modern words that I think are quite anachronistic, even though fantasy, of course, was never real. But I guess it's kind of set in a high Renaissance or Middle Ages kind of vibe, so you kind of want the word choice to match. So something like the word exit, just kind of, to me that seems like a very 20th or 21st century word. From my side, I catch him snapping up a bunch of ropes. Because once again, it's that thing. It's like, do you do your fantasy genre in kilometers? I don't know if you would, even though that's, how you measure stuff. The darkling removes his firm grip from my hip and begins to fumble with the ropes until he yanks my wrists together with his hands and pulls them behind my back, binding them tightly. Oh, hey. There's a lot of rope play in this game. Lower your voice, he growls. I think both characters have now been tied up within the first 5 minutes. I want to kick him in the face. Oh, try to kick him in the face, stay put. Once again, when we play on stream, we're trying to mess up. We're trying to mess heck up. I'd love to, but it would be pretty difficult to reach his face from here, but maybe I can try to... With a grunt, I lift my right leg and try to charge a powerful hit at his knee backward with my foot. You idiot. My foot shoots back, but instead of meeting his shin, it goes into empty air and sends me stumbling on one leg. The darkling jerks me further against him with the ropes and slings his arm around me, pushing into my chest with the tip of his elbow. That's a very detailed description. Pushes me further against him. Chokes me further against him with the ropes. Slings his arm around me, pushing into my chest with the tip of his elbow. Right, okay. Point that knife again against my throat. Once again, point that knife. Okay. Oof. Gee, we're doing a lot of knife holding. I clench my teeth, and as the blade slides further and further against my skin, I breathe and arch my back to avoid it. Oh. There I can see him. He's pretty taller than me, looking at me from above. I can see the arrogance in his red eyes while he looks at me with contempt, annoyed. I mean, we've established he has resting contempt face, so maybe he's not looking at you with contempt. Maybe he's looking at you with like tender, loving care. It's just it comes across as contempt. He finishes tying my wrists, and the rope is harsh, but I can't do much about it. He then thrusts me towards the exit. I'm picturing a little green sign above the tent door. The light of late afternoon sun is too weak to harm his eyes now. Once we're outside the tent, the darkling wrenches my arm and we dash to the nearest tent towards the trees of the forest. Soon enough, I find myself among the trees, tied up with the blade pointed at me by the biggest prick I've ever seen. No comment. I let out a moan of exasperation as we trek deeper into the forest. Great, now you can just leave me be and go your own way. You've already killed a lot of people yesterday, haven't you? You should be proud of yourself. Proud of your elf. No? Apparently we don't reward puns on stream. And so should your father. Oh, mother, I guess. You're coming with me. I turn to the darkling, frowning, annoyed. He still has the blade on his right hand, but he allows me to keep some distance now. I realize he has the rest of the rope in his left hand, as if he's keeping me by a leash. Complain. I mean, I think if I was ever kidnapped, or I was a kidnapper, something that would make me consider just separating the relationship is if the person was a big complainer. I've got to get some water. I'll be right back. Apologies for that. I also took the opportunity to grab my Xbox controller. So you can see when I say that the shape of the game has triggered my indie dev joypad gamepad issues this week, you'll know I was being serious. Alright, where were we? Oh, we're trying to be annoying. The dark elf sighs, and he raises his ruby eyes to the sky. He whispers, but I can still hear him. How did I manage to kidnap the most annoying half-elf of the village? I'm screenshotting that. You know, I ask myself that every week. I'm the only half-elf, by the way, so that's what you're going to get. The dark elf looks at me again. Yeah, nobody would have wanted an elf slave after all. I stop. What? The darkling shrugs, and while he looks at me, he slightly kicks my heels to make me keep walking, succeeding in it. Looking at the good side. Look at the good side. You're a dirty half-breed. But I haven't killed you yet. That's pretty singular. They weren't kidding when they said this game was like... got a vibe. It's a bit of a bodice ripper. Oh dear no, oh heck no, this is too much. I turn back to him again. You know what, I should have killed you when I had the chance. Take that knife you have and slit your throat. Oh yes, he replied, no smile on his face, looking at me, terribly serious. You should have done that, and now you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Considering elves live like 10,000 years, that's a long time. With the same seriousness on his face, his eyes go through the trees in a clear direction. Come on. He pulls me through the rope tied to my wrists, and I, with a grin of rage, follow him. I'll find a way to get away before he brings me into the abyss. So I'm trying to give each game half an hour, because I do have a lot of them to get through. So we are kind of bumping up against... We've done our half hour, but I am enjoying it, so I want to keep going. There's that Xbox controller again. Because I've got this problem. It's like, I'm not really good with controllers, and all the buttons are always different. And then the buttons on the different controllers are different. So it's like, you can't just say, press the X button, because on like a PlayStation controller, it'll be like a little triangle or something, you know? Poor indie devs. We just got it life so hard. Darkness has fallen upon us. It must be nighttime. It must be nighttime? God, this half-elf, he's not the brightest kid. Now following the steps of the Darkling is much more problematic for me. See, that's a word, that's a very 21st century word. I always think problematic, to me that refers to like sort of an ethical quandary. Like if you've got a broken tap, that's a problem. That's not problematic, you know. If the tap hates gay people, that's problematic. I almost can't see anything, and all the branches, leaves, plants, and roots of the forest are constantly getting in the way of my feet. Thinking about it, it could be easy now to make things more difficult for the Darkling. Well, I mean, he's got perfect eyesight in the dark. The dark is his... Well, we're going to make things more difficult for him, of course. The Dark Elf puts a hand on my back to slightly pull me forward as we keep walking, so that I keep up with his pace, but I have no intention of making things easier for him. I suddenly stop. What are you doing? The Dark Elf murmurs with his hoarse voice behind my back. He doesn't push me though. Oh, achievement unlocked. Sassy captive. I can't do it like this. I keep on stumbling on everything. It's too dark. We can't go further. Ha, I'm smart, Darkling. Go kidnap someone else. The Dark Elf scoffs before I can feel his hands on my hips. I shiver from this strange sensation. I'm not sure of what I'm feeling. Usually I don't get touched in this way, but his touch is warm and not hurtful as I might have imagined. I feel thrills around that hip area. Oh. He's got the tingles. And I find out I'm holding my breath and my belly is pulled in. If I'm being honest, I'm getting bottom energy off this half-elf. I bend my head lower, trying to see what he's doing. He's tinkering with the rope around my waist. Looks like he's making a knot. I frown, confused. Then he goes past me. I can see his silhouette, darker than the rest of the forest, in front of me. He has no trouble walking, and soon the rope follows him, and I'm pushed into it. I totally zoned out there. This is how I know that I think that half hour is not just because of a time constraint, because that's kind of my ability to read out loud and focus. I frowned, confused. Then he goes past me. I can see his silhouette, darker than the rest of the forest, in front of me. He has no trouble walking, and soon the rope follows him, and I'm pushed to him. But because the rope attached from behind on my wrists, I lose my balance, and with a moan I stumble over the roots under my feet, right before falling. Ah! And heck. The Darkling keeps pulling on the rope. How much strength must he have for this? I'm being dragged into the floor. It's painful. Stop it, I'll scream. The rocks hit the bones of my wrists, sending more pain to my body. In the meanwhile, I keep being dragged by the Darkling. How do you say it, dirty half-breed? Heck you, Darkling. Let me go. Queer games, heck yeah. Let me go, Another rock hits my sacrum. I scream. What's the sacrum? My Latin is not so good. Oh, like your tailbone, pretty much. Around that area. Okay, looks like it hurts. I can see that. He insists with a stronger, more violent pull that slams me against the big root of a tree, getting me stuck there, but the pull won't stop. Please, I'm heck sorry. Stop it, please. Oh, so this is branching dialogue I find really interesting because it's like, what choices do you give the player? So we were given choices to fight back, but we're not given a choice about whether to apologize or not. I think to me, that's the limitations of branching dialogue sometimes. Like, you don't get the options you want as a player. It's like, are you still kicking your dog and you're only given yes or no as the options? I scream, forgetting all my pride. I think I'm bleeding and it hurts. I find out I'm crying. I hear his steps and soon he reaches me. Now you can do it on your own, right? That's fair. I sob. Heck him. Just say it. Oh, bite your tongue. Just say it. Yeah, let's say it. Heck you. I imagine the Darkling smiling. He pulls me again by the rope, but this time he forces me to get up. Even though everything hurts like hell, I manage to get up and follow the direction he gives me with the pulling of the rope, ending up near him again. It's so dark, I can't see him well, but it looks like he's laughing. He's looking back at me with a haughty look. This walk through the forest is going for a while. I try to hold his gaze, lightly panting for the pain. He does the same for some seconds before moving on. This time he's ahead. Keep up the pace, little elf. I frown, annoyed with a moan. I'm not an elf. The Darkling turns to me and stands there for a second, looking at me. You say that as if you didn't mind. I lift my chin defiantly. Of course I don't mind. Why should I? The Darkling shrugs. His voice isn't as firm as usual. Because you're a half-breed. A mongrel? Oh, gosh. I'd rather be a mongrel than an elf. Here. The Darkling peers at me some more in the dark, then turns forward again and lazily pulls at the rope, inviting me to continue. I comply. I thought you liked elves. You lived in a clan of those. Maybe you didn't notice? I sigh. Oh my gods, you are so funny. I continue talking. I don't like them, but they are the ones who raised me. I belong with them. I admit, squeezing my shoulders, I feel a sense of subtle helplessness. I was an orphan, taken into their care, and my family left me on the edge of their nomadic camp when I was an infant. They had to raise me as their own since they couldn't have me on their conscience, but the elves didn't think much of someone born with only half their heritage. This is what I mean about elves. They're not our friends. So they gave me the task they didn't want to do and discovered I was good at medicine. They made me their healer, and that's what I am. I like being a healer. I'd like sometimes to not live as a half-breed. That's it. Oof. Did you understand what I was saying? Huh? I turned my face up to the Darkling, confused. Had he said something? I realized he's staring at me. I said, I don't feel like you belong with them. You're different. I sigh. Oh well, you know better than me, don't you? I tell him, sassy. The Dark Elf is already getting back to walking and pulling me tenuously by the rope. In the Abyss, everyone has their place. Everyone knows where they belong. There is no doubt about that. You, for example, are an inferior race. My eyes turn to him in exasperation. I guess. You shouldn't be sharing their space, but the people over the ground are strange. They get corrupted by confusion and weakness. I don't think they're smart enough to come to those conclusions. I'm all over the place with the politics of this world. I puzzle. What is he saying? What does that mean? Huh? What do you mean? The Darkling casts a glance at me from his shoulder. You are all weak and confused. Everything in this world about the earth is weak and confused. And it's getting a little bit Trump, isn't it? He whiffs, but tugs at the rope to convince me to pick up the pace. Ow, easy. We don't have all night. Walk, don't talk. Don't get me mad. I feel resentment gripping me, but I don't answer him. I keep it bottled up. Well, let's save it there. Another Ren Pie. Classic. Did we save it? Yeah. Oh. Main menu. That's great. I mean, actually, I'm not sure if it was a great game to stream. I mean, but that is certainly not, I would never hold that against a game because, you know, I think the pressure to make a stream-friendly game is actually a big problem with gaming at the moment. but I really enjoyed that. Like, I got a sense, I could tell the people making it really loved the two characters and really love the relationship between the two of them. I'm actually really impressed that they've done it all with just two characters. Like, I don't think we met any other. We saw some pictures, some other people at the start of the game, but generally, it's really got into the two-hander, just the two of them, almost from the very first minute of the game, which I think is exceptionally tight storytelling. We played one the other day in Queer Games, heck yeah, where you're a bunch of adventurers, and I mean, I think we had 7 or 8 characters, and it was a struggle to get them out of the tavern, you know. Here we already have, I think, the shape of their relationship completely already defined. And it just looks great, you know, as well. Not just the drawings, which are really handsome guys, but also, I think, aesthetic, it's quite nice. I'm terrible at picking a colour palette. I kind of go to that Colour Lovers palette website and type in a word I like, but it always kind of gives me the same sort of lollipop range of colours. Imagine being able to make a whole game that's just kind of different shades of pink and purple. Like, I really think that takes a lot of discipline. Anyway, there's a lot to love about this game. As with all the others, it actually really hurts to kind of cut it short, but, you know, we've gone over time on this one already. I'm going to take a break and then come back with a second game. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.